Hi, it's Joanne. Today we're going to be watching The Sandman, Season 1, Episode 6, The Sound of Her Wings. I am excited to get back in. It has been 2 weeks since I last filmed a Sandman reaction because I think I mentioned at the end of the previous episode, it was actually when I was watching The Sandman that I came over being really ill. My CFS flared up massively and it took me by surprise. Normally I'm able to tell the symptoms and I just was not. So I had to take some time off to just make sure I was fully back, and I touch what I am. I've done some reacting. I'm taking it slow. I'm getting back to everything, but I am so excited to get back to this show. I mean, I enjoyed the last episode. I do think that potentially me feeling ill towards the end of it, which wasn't to do with the episode, is gonna be like maybe negatively impacting my thoughts on it. But it kind of to me felt like it was one of those episodes that I would skip on a rewatch, or I'd watch like the last 10 minutes. But it was very, very well acted and very well done. It just wasn't the best episode of this show. But I'm excited to see what happens next. He's got the ruby back. He's got, you know, all the pieces he needs. So what's next, and who was that person at the end? A reminder that, as always, you can find the unedited version of this reaction and all of my reactions to The Sandman on my Patreon 2 weeks in advance, edited version 1 week in advance, and let's go! Also, this is the new camera. I'm working and adjusting the sound and everything. I'm still not sure 100% what I think of it, but I didn't like how the sound was in the previous episode, so I've turned off the OBS noise suppression I was using, and I just, let me know if you think the sound is terrible or if you think the sound is okay, and let's go.
Heads up!
Sorry, man.
This from Mary Poppins. Did you ever see it?
No.
He was in prison.
So I embarked upon a journey.
You did. You succeeded. Well, it doesn't heal all the trauma and everything.
Which I did. I feel like nothing.
You went through a lot. Even for an endless. That is something you need to process.
You are utterly the stupidest, most self-centered, pathetic excuse for an anthropomorphic personification on this or any other plane. It never occurred to you that I would be worried about you.
Well, I didn't think.
Exactly. You didn't think.
Heads
Well,
up!
you didn't think.
Wow. You're
This
as
is
good
the
as
corner.
your friend, dude.
He's not my friend, he's my brother. And he's an idiot.
I'm just feeding the birds.
If he's your brother, so you're another endless, which I was starting to suspect, why didn't you help him all that time?
Got work to do.
Like, maybe they didn't know, or because it was a magic sapping zone, none of them could get in, but you think they could have done something.
Sin.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let me just get your number and.
Oh god, is she death or something? And so he's gonna die soon. Hopefully for him she just means soon, as in the eons pass quickly. And an ordinary lifetime is just nothing.
We did have one family dinner when you were away.
Did nothing to help him.
No.
No. Not yet, please.
This time.
She comes to every single person individually.
Can I just... I look so old,
Yep.
so empty.
I mean, she's definitely the kind of person you'd want with you at the end. Someone sympathetic. The sound of her wings. But does she personally visit every single person who dies?
Where are you?
This is, I mean, her existence is brutal, being there at the end of everyone's days, and they all know it's the end of their days. Do not envy death.
How do you do it?
So people who are going to be revived, like, you know, like in someone goes into, they're dead, and then you do CPR and they come back. Death just doesn't come to that person, I suppose. Death knows which ones it's their time and which ones it wasn't. Just, oh, I just can't even get over how brutal it is. I mean, she definitely seems, I can't remember what her name is if we said it, like someone, she's got a lot of empathy about her, she's kind at the end. And obviously, I think it's really interesting the way that so far the two people we've seen, they both look at her and they know what's happening. Because if some random woman came up to you on the street and was like, do you know me? You'd be like, yeah, no, I don't. But they do know. Is she kind of in infinite places at once? Or does she have other people that do some of the reaping, but she does some as well? It's very interesting. I very much enjoy the way they tell these stories.
Does it not bother you?
I actually used to think I had the hardest job in all our family.
Oh, did you?
They fear the sunless lands, yet they, after a bit, it just got harder.
You continued.
He's going through a similar rough patch.
All they really need is a kind word and a friendly face,
She's good at that.
like they had in the beginning.
Oh god, no. Which one of them is this? Are they for? I don't know how you could.
Alright, sweetie.
Their attitude towards your gift is so strange.
Because it's not a
Why
gift.
do they fear the sunless lands?
Well, for one thing, if we knew for sure, I mean, that is something that I genuinely don't fully understand. It's people that believe in heaven, you know, Christians, whatever religion you have. If you truly believe that when you die, you go to a beautiful, magical, wonderful place and you get to be with everyone you love, why do people fear death? Why do they mourn as hard as people that don't believe in that? You know, obviously I can understand logically, you know, even if you love someone and they die, they're not in your life anymore, so you're going to mourn that. No one's ever going to be like, oh, well, my friend died, never mind, I'll see them in 20 years. You know, it's still going to be sad. But I don't believe in any kind of an afterlife. So when I have experienced death and loss in my life, I don't want to think about it too much, but I know that's it. I know that is everything. That is all the time I'm going to have with that person. Whereas if you're religious and you believe you're going to get an eternity, I'm not saying that their grief is any less than mine, but why isn't it any less than mine? It's weird. This show's raising interesting questions.
It is as natural to die as it is to be born.
Yes, but we want more of life. You want to experience
may
things
not
and
be
get to
ready
live.
for my...
If you have to die, you want it to be... You don't want to be greeted by some terrible Grim Reaper figure. You want to be greeted by someone that looks sympathetic.
I need them as much as they need me.
It's something Dream is definitely struggling with right now, because he does everything, gives everything to humans, and then they turn on him.
So many
And it's not all of them.
things and people.
Oh Christ, we're back where we started. She said she'd be here for him
Learn so
soon.
much.
She'd see him again soon. Glad of the haircut, my love.
Come on then. On their terms instead of yours.
She's always been looking out for him.
Penny out.
The end of the world is soon. You're marked.
Delegate.
What people want, Jeffrey, not filthy tales in rhyme about pilgrims.
Edmund, I enjoy rhyming.
Nobody has to die. The only reason people die is because everyone does it. You all just go along with it. But not me. I've made up my mind.
Oh God.
You could find out.
How?
Ooh, his
I
experiment.
could grant him his wish.
Do that, and he will be begging for death within a century.
Thing is, I would want immortality with, like, everyone I loved. You wouldn't want immortality on your
Assure
own.
you. Let us meet here again, Robert Gatling, in this tavern of the White Horse, in 100 years.
So this pub has endured all that time? In relatively same shape.
Who was that then, Obsy? Have I made a bargain with the devil?
No.
Then why
You
aren't
would
I
fear
dead?
that.
It's all changing.
In
Yeah.
what way?
Chimneys. Not having your eyes watering all the time from the smoke. Huh. And now we have these little playing cards.
I mean, it's true, there are positives and the right person could find the positives. The interesting thing will be his life would be so difficult because he'd constantly be moving around. If you think about it logically, he can't... It's a Cullen vampire scenario, but you can't stay in one place too long because people would notice you
What
don't age.
will you be?
Started in a new trade. It's called printing. Don't need to be a guild member, not yet.
100 years then.
Oh yes.
You're a cynical Dream.
You never told me who you are.
I think you have to approach eternal life with that kind of mindset.
It's Sir Robert Gadlin now, old stranger.
You've had good fortune, I take it.
And I went north for a year or so, came back as my son. Done that twice now. No, more wine. My fair Eleanor. And little
Oof.
Robin.
This is going to be the true test of his immortality because his wife and child will die.
My first
Here comes the
fight.
true test the next 100 years.
This is what I always dreamed heaven would be like.
To give men dreams that would live on long after I'm dead. I would
Ooh.
bargain, like your house does, for that boon.
Oof.
Who is he?
So Dream's
Anyway.
behind Shakespeare.
And nowhere to go but up.
Not true. Oh, it's not true. This is in the worst 100 years.
My land. Are you crazy? Death is a mug's game. I've got so much to live for.
I love this guy. Who's this?
Where they take English cotton goods to Africa, get a cargo of Negroes, pack them in like sardines.
And I no
ship
longer
them
love this
across
man.
the Atlantic,
Not
and
even a
comes
little
back here
bit.
with raw cotton. What?
Yeah, that's
It's a poor thing
abominable.
for one man
Uh-huh.
to enslave another.
Even people when you're existing know that this is wrong.
Gentlemen, please, please. Do not trouble yourselves.
Ancestor
for
Constantine,
wires.
I imagine.
These are Michael and Tobias. By slitting throats if you move. They'll slit yours.
The genes are strong in this
Telepathy.
family.
In these London. I'm Lady Joanna Constantine. You will both follow me, sir, as my coach is
Constantine and
about.
Joanna, names that go through time. If you really think they're devils or whatever, why would you assume some knives would do the trick?
Wait,
Is this the reason the Constantines become... I think I've been saying that wrong. They become supernatural adjacent?
you need not have come to my defense.
Clearly. Still, I didn't want to be drinking alone here in 100 years' time.
He's kind of come to view Dream as a touchstone,
I
something
don't suppose
you
you
can
care to find another
count
pub
on.
tonight.
But you can be hurt
Mm-hmm.
or captured.
Mm-hmm.
You must be cautious.
Not me, though. Still the same as ever.
I think perhaps you've changed.
Should hope so, given that he was a stain on the side of humanity 100 years ago.
Friendship?
Interesting.
I think you're lonely.
I do as well. And he's going to get even lonelier.
Dare
Dream is not good at
suggest
dealing
one
with
such as I
the dark
might need your
truths.
companionship. Then I shall take my leave of you and prove you wrong.
Dream, there's nothing wrong with having a friend. Although this guy was a slaver, so like, we can find better friends. Something that does that, I love the technological revolution of like, because you can see how things change, and you can see each 100 years how markedly big the changes were. But the last like 200 years, the changes have just gone vroom. Sad this place is in such disrepair now. It's always the same discussion every time. People are the same. Oh, he probably would have come, sir. He was just being held against his will. Yep, Dream's not here. And this place isn't even going to be here. It's quite literally not his fault. They're friends.
You're late.
I've actually loved this episode.
It seemed polite to keep one's friends waiting.
Oh, that is so cute. And deeply evolved for Dream as well. That's really lovely.
My brother has found a way out of his cage. My plan has failed.
Fuck.
But don't worry.
So the twins are behind stuff. Okay, I adored that episode. I loved the beginning. I loved the seeing Dream's relationship with his sister, seeing another one of the Endless, seeing, and I like as well the fact that Death, you know, who humans would so often like we picture as being so terrifying and scary, was actually someone that cared deeply and like, you know, been through her own rough patches, but ultimately was somebody that cared about what she was doing and cared about each person and was being as compassionate as she could be, even though it was very tragic to watch her going around doing it. And I loved this episode. I loved both halves of this episode for different ways. I loved seeing Dream's relationship with his sister, though I do sort of feel like it would have been nice for him to vaguely mention, like, was there no way you could have come for me? Could you not have come to my aid? Because like when he wanted his stuff back and Lucien was saying, oh, can you talk to your siblings? You'd have to go to the Fates. And he was like, oh, they didn't help me out then. Why would they help you out now? And maybe Death wouldn't have been much use in coming to save him. I mean, one of the others could have done. I don't know. I mean, obviously the place was like, well, no, it was mainly the pod that was magic proof. It wasn't the whole room. So I don't know. But I feel like maybe it would have been nice if he'd kind of been like, if you care about me and are so worried about me, why weren't you worried about me for the 100+ years I was in a cage? But regardless, it was nice to see their relationship. And it did raise some really interesting questions about Death, what I talked about in the middle. kind of, this show is able to really raise some very thought-provoking questions and moments. And, you know, I truly hope when I die, I go through the pearly gates and everyone I've ever loved is there that's died before me, and everything is perfect and wonderful, and I'm wrong. But I don't think that somehow. But regardless, I love the idea that at the end, in your most terrifying moment, you're not alone, and that there is somebody there with such a wonderful, I mean, that actress was brilliant, such a wonderful, enveloping sense of calm and compassion and safety that you don't feel that fear at the end. I think that's something, the concept of that is really, really special. And the fact that Dream had somebody who was able to both talk about her own time, her own experience, where she struggled with the purpose of anything, struggled with why it mattered, and how, you know, these humans who look at her with such fear, why should she care about them? Why should she do it? And in Dream's similar case of, well, these humans have caused me so much pain, and like, what's the point? How do I keep going? And she kind of reminded him why. Also then spurring him to go and find his one true friend, well, one of his friends. He's got, you know, Ravens and Lucien. He's not completely alone. So I really loved that dynamic. And I think it's interesting because these beings are endless. They are eternal. They are immortal. I mean, I don't fully understand, obviously, our mere human brains can't comprehend exactly what they are, but I don't know exactly what they are. But they live for all time and all eternity. They see so much pain and suffering, and they bring such, you know, their whole life is service. How do you stay sane? But regardless, despite the fact that they are so different from us, they also have human emotions. Well, they have emotions. Emotions are not necessarily just human. They are able to go through things and struggle and grow as people, or become evil people, I suppose, if you look at Desire. Doesn't seem to be doing a very nice job. So it's just very interesting. And this concept of the fact that they had a family dinner and the twins were happy, and then, you know, in Desire's place, it looked like a thing that looked a bit like Dream's mask, and then there was a thing that looked like Death's necklace. Like, is Desire desiring all of his siblings' jobs or something? So that is going to be, I was wondering if there was going to be like a plot strand like throughout the whole thing, or whether the show was kind of going to just be lots of individual moments and episodes but with Dream at the centre of them all. Wouldn't have necessarily minded if it was that, but it does seem like the thread of his captivity and why it happened is maybe going to continue to go on, and I'm excited about that. I like seeing the old Joanna Constantine. So yeah, back onto Gadley was his surname. I can't remember what the guy's first name was. It Rob? Yeah, that whole concept of some random guy in 1389 being like, oh, I'm never gonna die, you know, it's the sort of thing people say, drunk people say, and, you know, that kind of boast you make, or especially in a time when you don't have science and so you don't understand why people die. I love the idea that even then Death was looking out for Dream. She maybe could see that he was very much isolated in his dream world and wasn't connecting with the people they were helping, and so bringing him down, showing him the people, and making that bar, I think she could sense, because they know it, like, it's really interesting to me the way the Endless are able to just look at a person and they know their whole life story and their life history. I suppose she looked into his soul and she could see that he was someone that would not be defeated by the world, that would always, even if he considered dying, would choose not to, and that maybe to see somebody embracing life so fully might help Dream embrace humans and everything as well. The whole concept was interesting, and I love history. I studied history at university. It's my favourite subject, along with classics. I love history. Medieval period is my favourite. But I loved the way they did the sets and everything, and the fact that the conversations were so similar each time that was happening around the pub. I adored every aspect of that. I will say, the fact that this man just casually became a slaver, like, sir, I liked you, and now I don't like you. Yes, we make mistakes. Dream needs better friends, but if we kind of put that to the back of our minds, the whole concept of it, I think they both were really valuing those conversations. They both had these long, endless existences, and this was something that they kept coming back to, someone that was always there for them that they could talk to. So it was very, very interesting to see the way the world changed each 100 years. It was interesting to see the way his life changed. I knew the moment he mentioned having a wife and a child, you're like, you're immortal, sir, and unless those genes are being passed down to your child, you're going to lose both. And it's doubly tragic to think that he lost his wife young in childbirth and his son at age 20. You know, it wasn't even like he got them into their old ages. They just died. But I also felt like maybe in some ways Robert Gadley, I think that was his name, can kind of show you that even when you feel like you're at your lowest, even when you've lost everything, if you keep believing, there is a way through, and you can find a way through, and you can find a reason to live again. And if you make mistakes, and if you do things that you literally should never have done, and that it doesn't have to mean you were permanently forever a bad person. You can kind of turn it around. I don't know. I still think what he did was pretty bad. It was so interesting, and this concept of Dream coming to see him every single time, and then, you know, not really sharing any information, getting so offended at the idea that he would befriend this man, but ultimately he was his friend. And I think, you know, the fact that he did go to find him shows you that he did value that friendship, in the same way that it showed you that Gadley valued it, because he made sure to stick around. He made sure to be in the area that Dream would be, and it looked like he was like marking exams or something. So maybe he's a teacher who used to run slave ships. Great. But no, regardless of the big stain on that man's soul, it was such an interesting idea of giving this one random person as an experiment the ability to just live for forever. I loved seeing Joanna Constantine, and maybe seeing, I think I say Constantine a lot, and I'm sorry about that, Constantine, and seeing how, kind of seeing her family way back when. I love when they have people playing their ancestors and they look exactly the same. I'm like, the genes are strong in this family. Maybe she made some kind of deal with Dream, and the idea that Shakespeare was linked to Dream as well. It's all so well done, so cleverly done. I'm absolutely loving it. And I think in this episode we saw Dream, it was good to see him kind of with his sister, with someone that he's kind of an equal with, being able to talk and have her not just completely, I'll just get over it, what are you talking about? But instead she shared with him that there was a time when she was struggling, and that helped him to see that he's not the only one to have ever felt like this, and that there is a way through, and that then he was able to reconnect with somebody that has been such a constant in his life. And maybe he's starting to think things are looking up. Now obviously things are not going to be eternally looking up, because Desire is up to some God knows what, but I really love this episode. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon 2 weeks in advance, the edited version 1 week in advance. Thank you so much for watching.